Wednesday, November 4th, 2020. Robert Harding. Groggy-eyed, but he's good. He's recovering from the election, as a lot of us are. Justin,
hey, look, I know a good hangover when I see one.
Yeah. Justin Ritzel, the birthday boy. Got to throw this out there. Don't want to embarrass him. Well, maybe a little, but Justin is 30 years old today. Wow. You don't look a day over 29.
Well, I made sure to shave today so that my baby face appearance shows up on the video. Don't need this gray beard popping up for all of our viewers. So I would say I don't look a day.
You don't look a day over 20. Yeah. You don't look a day older than 29. Sure doesn't look like a day under 89. So you're still doing okay.
I was going to throw 37 out there, but
Well, that's an inside joke that there's no need to share that.
It stays on the joke. 37. All right. I'm sorry. Our picks from last week. All right. So Robert was our best picker of the week. He was 2-2. It was a tough week. There were a lot of underdogs winning. It was a crazy week. I was 1-3 and Justin 0-4. Wow. That's a donut. That's tough, man. So, but hey, they were tough games. I mean, there was no doubt about it. It was not an easy week. So let's get to our picks. First game, Robert's Buffalo Bills. Do they play on the road at all? It seems like they've been at home forever now. They're hosting the Seattle Seahawks, and the Seahawks are 2.5-point favorites in Buffalo. Wow, that's a surprise. Wow, that's really surprising. I mean, I would think the Bills would be favored. I mean, they're what, 6-2. They lead the division. You would think the Bills would be the favorite, but Vegas, they have their ways. And with that being said, I am taking the Seahawks to win on the road. Russell Wilson, I'm telling you, this guy, he will probably be the MVP at the end of the season, probably. But
wow, way to spoil the rest of the show.
Seattle plays very well. No. Seattle plays very well in the East Coast. They are, I believe they've only lost a handful of games since 2013, playing at 1 p.m. Eastern. I like the Seahawks to go in. Bills, look, they got a little lucky last week against the Patriots. They could have lost that game thanks to, Cam Newton coughing up the ball there late. But, yeah, I like Seattle. So go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, I mean, I as a Russell Wilson fantasy owner, I am not going to bet against him against the Bills. Even though the Bills are my team, obviously, but the defense, the Bills' defense for me has been too, inconsistent, and Seattle's defense obviously isn't that much better, but I think Russell Wilson can do the most damage in this game, and I think Seattle should be able to win by at least a field goal in this game.
I'm surprised, Robert, but you go with your head, not your heart, so that's understandable. Justin?
Hey, I don't have, you talk about aqua and orange colored glasses and whatever hokum you like to spread on a weekly basis. These aren't blue, red, white, and blue, my friend.
Right.
They're black, they're clear. I come at this with a balanced approach, despite claims that I'm a homer. I will pick against my team when there's clearly a better team on the other side of the field.
Okay, go ahead, Justin. Your thoughts on that game?
Well, from top to bottom, I actually think the Bills are a better team than the Seahawks, but games are often won and lost by the quarterback. And I just trust Russell Wilson right now more than I trust Josh Allen. I don't think that, as I've said many times in our videos so far this year, I don't think the home road thing should matter one bit. I think that Russell Wilson will do enough to allow the Seahawks to cover. And then I'll share more thoughts on him in a moment.
All right. Our next game, the Baltimore Ravens, 3-point favorites at Indianapolis against the Colts. Ravens coming off a very disappointing loss to Pittsburgh last week. The Colts, they're quietly in first place in the AFC South. And, the Ravens have a very good defense. The Ravens are second in the AFC in points allowed. The Colts are third. And they have a pretty good defense. And I don't think anybody really knows that they have a solid defense. So, I think maybe that the Steelers kind of exposed the Ravens. And, I'm thinking of the Titans when they got their first loss by the hands of Pittsburgh. It basically, avalanched into another loss the following week. I like the Colts to win this game and cover against the Ravens -3. I'll take the Colts at home. And I like Indianapolis to win this game and at least cover. So, Justin, who do you like?
I just want to reflect back to August when we did our predictions, or maybe it was September, early September. Sometime a few months ago, we made our predictions for the season, and I made two bold claims that were laughed at by you two jokers. One of them was that I thought the Steelers were going to win the AFC North. I don't know if you guys noticed, they're undefeated still. And then I said the Indianapolis Colts were going to win the AFC South. And I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good about that. However, I do not feel good about them covering this week. I'm going to take the Ravens. I think the Ravens are due to get back on track. They've kind of sputtered a little bit. Lamar Jackson isn't even being talked about as being an MVP, even though he's the reigning winner, which I think is understandable. But the Ravens need to kind of step up if they're going to keep pace in the AFC and in the AFC North in particular. So I think they'll come out with a nice showing. I'm not sure if they're on their game that the Colts can keep pace offensively. Ravens.
Okay. Robert?
The Colts are a tough team. Chris, if you played fantasy football, you would have known that the Colts defense is pretty good because they're one of the top ranked defenses, not only on your traditional stat sheets, but certainly in fantasy football as well. As good as the Colts have been, I think the Ravens are just a little bit better. I'm taking them in this game. I agree with the opinion that Lamar Jackson hasn't played as well as last year, but I think they have enough pieces on this team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. The defense has been pretty solid. Although, Marlon Humphrey has COVID. He said earlier this week he got the Rona. So that'll be interesting to see how that affects, the Colts game plan, whether they, try to attack the Ravens defense through the air. But I still feel good about the Ravens in this one. I think they should win it.
All right. Our next game is my Miami Dolphins at the Arizona Cardinals. This game I thought opened up. I think it was Arizona by 3.5. Now they're favored by 6. What the heck is going on here? So Cardinals -6. That's a big number. Dolphins defense, they brought it last week. They just absolutely beat the living daylights out of the Rams. It was fun. It was a fun game if you were a Dolphins fan. And I'm not even talking about Tua either, who was, he didn't lose the game. Let's just put it that way. So the Dolphins go on the road. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals, they're quietly becoming one of the better teams in the NFL. And I picked against the Dolphins last week, and they surprised me. So guess what? I'm picking against them this week too. I'm picking the Cardinals to cover -6. And let me explain why. I tweeted out on Monday, the Dolphins' 4 wins have come against quarterbacks that are not very mobile. Joe Flacco, Gardner Minshew, Jared Goff. I mean, these are quarterbacks that don't have reputations of, taking off of the ball and running. Their losses have come to Russell Wilson, Cam Newton, and who's the third one? Oh, boy, you think I know? Oh, yeah, Josh Allen of the Bills. So, yeah, the Dolphins' defense is not as good against mobile quarterbacks as they are against pocket passers. Now, maybe this week that changes. They're riding pretty high right now. But I think they're due for a letdown. They've won 3 in a row. They're due to lose one. I hate to say it, but I think the Cardinals are going to win and cover -6. Robert?
Yeah, I think the Cardinals sent a pretty clear message a couple weeks ago when they beat the Seahawks that this team is for real. Kyler Murray, he still has some developing to do, but he's certainly a dual threat. I think he's right up there with kind of a Lamar Jackson type. Although I would think I would say I think Kyler Murray's a better passer, believe it or not. But the Cardinals just good team on both sides of the ball. The Dolphins. I give your bum team credit, Chris. I've demoted them. I've relegated them to the AAF, the XFL. They're finally looking like an NFL team again. It's been a long time. I mean, they barely were an NFL team in the 90s when I was growing up. So it's nice to see them at least regain that form. The defense has been playing pretty well, but as you mentioned, they've been fortunate to play against some standing targets. And when the quarterback can, take 2 steps to the right, for example, they have a little trouble with those quarterbacks. So I like the Cardinals in this one. I think Tua will have a decent game to build on his mediocre performance in the debut. So that should be encouraging for Dolphins fans, but they'll still lose this one, of course.
Yeah, I didn't go into a lot of detail about Tua, and I'll keep it short. But yeah, I mean, look, you got to understand it's his first NFL start. The Rams obviously have a very good defense. I wasn't expecting him to light it up, and I mean, like I said, he played well from the standpoint of he didn't throw an interception, and he didn't do anything that lost the game. I mean, you can tell that he's learning, and it's going to take some time. So onward and upward, I guess. Go ahead, Justin.
I think this line is too big. I think the Cardinals won a game they shouldn't have against the Seahawks. I'm not impressed with their defense. Their secondary is okay, but they can't rush the passer. And I'm not a believer in Kyler Murray just yet. He turns the ball over too much. He's exciting, don't get me wrong. But I think Miami will be able to stump him a little bit, force him into some costly throws. They just got to take advantage if he gives those turnover opportunities. They got to catch the ball and turn it over. But hey, Chris, I got to say, like Jerry Orbach in Dirty Dancing, when I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong. Last couple weeks, I've been saying how the Dolphins are a mirage and the Patriots will overtake them as the second best team in the AFC East and will ultimately probably grab that last wild card spot. I was wrong. I think the Dolphins got a shot to make the playoffs. So with that said, I'm going to pick the Dolphins, and Chris, I'm happy for you. It's been a long run. I think the Dolphins have been actually good in the time that I've known you these last 5 years. They had that one fluky playoff season, but we know that was a bunch of nonsense. So hey, soak it in, and it can only get better from here as the quarterback improves.
Well, thank you, Justin. I feel bad now I didn't get you a birthday present, man. I mean, that was very nice of you to say. It was very, very nice. Wow. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic. I mean, they're a better team, no doubt about it, and they are turning things around. But to me, this is a process that's going to take a while, and they're getting there. So that's the good thing. So, all right, our last game, and this is the game of the week. Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Saints at Bucks. Bucks are 5.5-point favorites. It's the Sunday night game. The Saints played a dog game last week against the Bears, and they lucked out and they won. The Buccaneers played a dog game against the Giants. They lucked out and they won. Now, I'll throw out the they played on Monday night, short week thing. But I like the Saints in this game. I think they can cut for 5.5. I think they'll probably lose by a field goal. But I think the Bucs win by 3 points around there. So I like the Saints to cover. This is just going to be a back and forth game, although watch out for the defenses. I mean, sometimes when you think you're going to have a real scoring fest, the defenses clamp down and you get a low scoring game. But that being said, Saints covering -5.5. Justin, who do you like?
I will also take the Saints. I mean, listen, for all if you want to criticize them for going and needing overtime to beat the Chicago Bears, the Bears, if nothing else, I've said their record is a little fraudulent, but you can't deny that they have a good defense. They have one of the best defenses in the league. So to grind out a win there when they didn't necessarily play their best, I think that's still a positive game for them, all things considered. I didn't watch the Monday night game. I was following along online. So take what I say with a grain of salt, but the fact that the Giants were a decent Danny Dimes throw away from tying that game and forcing overtime, I'm sorry, that's not good. And Tom Brady, he's had a couple great games. He had like a 5-touchdown game against the Chargers. He had another great game where he threw 4 or 5 touchdowns. Otherwise, he's been pretty average this year, and we'll talk about MVP in a minute, but this high-flying Buccaneers offense that we are supposedly going to have, they're a ball control offense. Brady just doesn't turn the ball over. That's the improvement they needed from the Jameis Winston experience, but if this turns into a shootout, I kind of like the Saints odds better. Drew Brees, for all the fun we've been making of him, he's playing pretty decent quarterback right now, racking up some nice numbers. So I don't know if the Saints are going to win, but I do like them to cover the spread.
All right, Robert.
Let me take on the role of Ritz here. So both of you are picking the Saints.
Yeah.
I'm taking the Bucks. Look, I don't think the first time that these two teams met, I don't think the Bucks were really, playing up to their ability. That was the first week of the season. Brady's really the first game action with that offense, and you could tell that they weren't clicking just yet. Now, that Tampa Bay offense is doing pretty well. They're one of the top scoring offenses in the league. That defense is pretty good too. I just think that they're a better team than the Saints. I think that this team's going to win the NFC South. The Saints, Drew Brees isn't the quarterback that he used to be. And I think if it does turn into, the Buccaneers racking up points, that the Saints aren't going to be able to keep pace. I think the bottom line is the Buccaneers have a better defense as well. One of the better scoring defenses in the league. So I like the Bucks in this one. It is a generous line for the Bucks, but I'll take it. I'll live life on the edge. I'll take it.
All right. So for the rest of the program, we're going to talk about the NFL of the halfway point here. Now, do you guys want to break these three things down into separate things, or do you want me just to go through all three? We go through all three of them at the same time for each of us. What do you want to do? Separate. Okay. Best team at the halfway point. For me, it's Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, I know they've lost the game, but, usually Super Bowl winning teams have a little bit of a hangover sometimes. To me, the Chiefs haven't skipped a beat. Yeah, they lost to the Raiders that one game, but Patrick Mahomes, another great season. Defense has been solid. I mean, they're just rolling along, and I think arguably they are the best team in the NFL, even though they are not undefeated. Justin.
I'll go with the Steelers. I mean, their record indicates they're the best team. They haven't lost yet, but they got some impressive wins on their resume, especially over the last couple of weeks, beating the Ravens in a pretty close game, and then beating the Titans in a game that really was not close. The Titans did a lot of damage in garbage time, but I just think the Steelers, they can beat you in more ways than a lot of the other teams can. They can do it. If Roethlisberger, I've said this before, Roethlisberger hasn't been the, stat compiler that we're used to seeing, but he's still an effective quarterback. I think if they need to put the game on his right arm, he can get the job done. They have talent on offense. They can pass it. They can run it. And then their defense is as good as any, even though they kind of started off slow, but they've come around these last couple weeks. I think in today's NFL, this year's NFL, where you're not going to be clicking on all cylinders every week, I like the team that can beat you the most kind of ways. And while Kansas City has the better quarterback, I would say they're the second best team right now in the NFL. I worry about that defense. I mean, they got shredded by the Raiders a few weeks ago. So, and don't glean too much from them beating up on the lowly Jets. That game means nothing. So I'll say the Steelers.
All right, Robert, your best team at the halfway point.
I agree with Brits on this one. I think it's the Steelers. Obviously they're the last remaining undefeated team in the league with a 7-0 mark. And I just think that on both sides of the ball, they have great units, with Big Ben on offense. And he's got, some good weapons to throw to, the Claypools, Schusters, he's got James Conner back there at running back. So, the offense can get the job done. And then the defense is one of the best units in the NFL. They've shown that, especially in the games against Tennessee and Baltimore recently. So I like them as the best team. I think that they are a legitimate contender in the AFC that can take on the Chiefs and potentially beat them, in a possible AFC championship game matchup. And then go on to the Super Bowl. I think that's how good the Steelers are this year.
Yeah. Well, who's your MVP? And this is where I'm going to steal a page from what you guys just said. I think Ben Roethlisberger should be the MVP. Now, look, I've talked about Russell Wilson and the Seahawks and everything, but look, Ben Roethlisberger comes back from a serious elbow injury that he missed basically just about almost the entire season. Okay, he's 38 years old, and he's having one of the best seasons of his career. I think that means for something. So right now, halfway point, Ben Roethlisberger is my MVP. Sorry. Who do you got, Robert?
Well, first of all, I don't know what's happening in that office. Instead of wearing masks, they should be handing out drug tests every day because I don't know what the deal was with that pick. Holy cow. Russell Wilson is the trendy pick, but I just can't help it. Aaron Rodgers is my MVP. This guy has been lighting it up. It's the revenge tour, man. He's just playing well. Aaron Jones goes down for a couple weeks, and this guy lights it up like he's 30 again. I mean, it's incredible. He's older than Ritz and out there throwing the ball around like he's found the fountain of youth or something. I like what he's doing. He's had. He had his struggles in one game there, but I think he's really the key to the Packers' success. And it really showed when Aaron Jones got hurt, missed a couple games, and they still played. Especially in the one game, they played pretty well without him. So I like Rodgers. I think that he's. He's found something in year two with Matt LaFleur, and they're doing. I think he's the guy to beat right now.
Robert. Now that you mentioned, I think you might have discovered something here. I think the Packers intentionally did this to get Aaron Rodgers to get angry and play better. Think about it. Instead of drafting a wide receiver,
say that for months.
Instead of drafting a wide receiver in the first round, what do? They trade up and draft this possible replacement to really get him going. What a brilliant psychological ploy by the Packers to make Aaron Rodgers play even better. Genius. All right, Justin, who do you got for MVP? I'm sorry. Yeah, for MVP, yes.
Well, I can't make my answer without addressing Chris's blasphemy.
Oh, I'm kidding. Come on. I'm kidding around.
Get out of here with that. Listen, Big Ben ranks in the top, outside the top 20 in passing yards. He's 7th in passing touchdowns with 15, 11 behind Russell Wilson. Passer rating, he's outside the top 10. And QBR, put in as much stock into that as you want. QBR, he's like outside the top 25. So Roethlisberger's not going to win. The Steelers could go undefeated and that guy's not going to win because his statistically, he's just not on par with most of the other guys that are going to be in the conversation. Listen, I like Ben Roethlisberger. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. I think he's certainly in the running for comeback player of the year because he has been that solid coming off a serious elbow injury, but MVP, I mean, GTFO with that. Listen, Russell Wilson is the trendy pick right now. A lot of ball game left. I have a hard time saying that anyone else can be the MVP halfway through the season. Statistically, the passing touchdowns, he's way ahead of everybody else. He's had, the Seahawks, thanks to some scheduling changes, they've had a lot of primetime games already, and he's delivered in some big moments, save for that OT interception against the Cardinals a few weeks ago. But and the other thing is that the MVP is a narrative award. And as long as people keep talking about, how Russell Wilson has never had an MVP vote, as long as people keep bringing that up as if it was some crime that he hasn't gotten a vote, he's going to win that narrative, because it's like people in the media who are going to vote for this almost want him to win. And, he's had a great year. If he wins, if he keeps up his pace of play, he'd be a great choice. I would add, last year, looking at his season, the first 9 games last year, 2019, Russell Wilson had 8 of those 9 games with 100 passer rating or better. And then the last 7 games, he only had 1 game of 100 passer rating or better. So he was kind of doing the same thing last year and really fell off a cliff in the second half. So he's got to finish the deal. He's got to be good for 16 weeks. So I think I would say Russell Wilson right now. But if we really want to talk about who the most valuable quarterback in football is, between, as Robert mentioned, missing your stud running back for several games, missing your stud wide receiver for several games, your all-pro left tackle for several games, having to deal with a defense that really for 10 years has done you absolutely no favors. The real MVP of football, as it has been for many years. Listen, you guys said it. This franchise goes out of their way at every opportunity to not give this guy the help he needs. Hey, Aaron, our defense takes a dump out in the field every week. Why don't you go out there and scoop it up and score some touchdowns? Hey, Aaron, we know you've needed a wide receiver or some semblance of help on offense for at least 5 years. Well, here's a backup quarterback and a fullback and a running back that is the third string running back, who I might add got COVID and now has infected all the other running backs who now won't be able to play tomorrow night. No player over the last 10 years covers up the stink of his team quite like Aaron Rodgers does. And yes, he's had some down years statistically the last few years, but he's proven this year he's the same quarterback as he's always been, one of the best of all time, and certainly worthy of being in the MVP conversation. He's got, 9 games left to go. Russell Wilson has 9 games left to go, I think. It's going to come down to who's better in December and probably who ends up having the higher seed in the NFC. And then one quick note, get out of here with anybody who says Tom Brady should be in the conversation. The guy cherry-picked a franchise to go to that has a great wide receiving core, obviously a great defense now we've seen. Tom Brady is not the most valuable player in football. Get out of here with that talk.
If we ever do a best of video, that clip is going on there. I'll tell you, that was classic. So, all right, our last topic for the week midseason review: biggest disappointment, team or player. Well, I've got one and the same. It's the Minnesota Vikings and Kirk Cousins. The Vikings are 2-5. Kirk Cousins is playing lousy. I mean, the Vikings were, I believe, a playoff team last year, or at least, they were a couple of years ago. I mean, they've been,
beat the Saints.
Yeah. So, I mean, here's a team that, I think a lot of people thought had aspirations maybe of taking the next step, getting to the conference championship game, or at least winning their division. And they're 2-5. I mean, they're buried. They're dead last, right? I mean, the Lions probably right there with them. So very disappointing. I think that's my candidate for the biggest disappointment, team or player, but I did both. So, Justin.
Well, I'm going to single out 2 teams. I'm going to single out the 49ers for being a disappointment. And I want to be clear on this, especially because my team is playing them tomorrow. Through no fault of their own, are they the biggest disappointment? They have been hit so hard with injuries. There was stuff going around on Twitter today that they're only playing 3 out of 11 starters on offense tomorrow compared to the NFC Championship game. That's insane. They've just been so banged up on both sides of the ball. it's more disappointment that they're 4-4 despite all this crap that's happened to them. They'd probably be the best team in the NFL, like they were much of last year, had they stayed healthy. But that's just the NFL. It's just sometimes injuries are too much to overcome.
I said
they might
earlier,
win tomorrow.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
No. Packers going to win the game easy.
I'm scared about that game.
Who knew that the highlight of the Niners season, the Niners year, was going to be losing the Super Bowl, because it's been all downhill after that. All right, Robert, the floor is yours. Biggest disappointment.
Well, let me just throw in another team, the New England Patriots. I was really banking on them this year to have a good year because I want to see how much credit Belichick and Brady deserve for that dynasty, and I think the Patriots were off to a really encouraging start. Cam Newton was off to an encouraging start, and then they've just fallen off a cliff over this last month. Lost some guys to COVID, untimely. They're just not playing well. Disappointing for Belichick and company. They had a chance to get into the playoffs, and they've fallen apart. 4 straight losses. Figure it out, Bill.
No tears for me on that one. I'm enjoying it. So, all right, go ahead, Robert.
For me, it's the Cowboys. This is a team that came into the season with, so I think certainly high expectations that they would contend in the NFC, and obviously Dak Prescott's injury has to factor into this. That's just a thing that happens in football. But even before that, this is a team that was struggling, and I think that, now they find themselves in quite a predicament because, Andy Dalton's out. He's been in the concussion protocol, then apparently test positive for COVID. So that's obviously a problem because they went from having a veteran quarterback, backup quarterback, to now relying on some bums that they've scraped up from, either the practice squad or, a rookie. I mean, they got Peterman's backup in there, for crying out loud. I mean, what's happening in Dallas? These are the best guys you can find on the, off the street to play quarterback. I mean, it's almost hard to believe that, but it's a real struggle for them. If anything, this has revealed that, Dak Prescott is definitely a key piece of that team that needs to stay around because they kind of live or die with him. So with or without him, and they definitely need him out there. And so definitely a long-term extension should be in the cards there. But they have other needs too. I mean, certainly on the defensive side of the ball, they need to get that figured out. Their defense has been atrocious this year, and that's going to be a problem going forward if they don't fix it now. So, Jerry Jones needs to get, figure out what to do with this team. This has been a long-standing thing with Dallas that, they've got a lot of talent there, but it seems like, the real issue is the front office. And we know that passes through one individual. And, Dallas is going to struggle until they get this figured out. And, it's a real disappointment for this team. I know that Ritz picked them to go far. A lot of people actually picked them to go far. It wasn't just our birthday boy here who had them going deep into the playoffs. That they were a trendy pick this year, and obviously that they're certainly not going to make it there with some of the quarterbacks that they've found. They've got AAF quarterbacks that they're going out there with now. So this ought to be quite an adventure as the season rolls on.
All right, guys. So that's it. Another fun video. And, like I said, coming off the day after the election, Robert's Christmas, no doubt about that. It was a good election day for him. He did some great work last night for the Citizen. So make sure you catch his work as he's writing more stuff. I mean, it's amazing the prolificacy of this person. So make sure you go to auburnpub.com to check out his fine work. Justin, you got anything for tomorrow? Column?
I will have a column, And I am also heading out to Skinny Atlas shortly to cover a rematch of last year's Section 3 boys soccer Class B title game, Skinny and Westville. And I also will have a story tomorrow in probably Friday's newspaper that people can read about what's going on with high school hockey of particular interest to people in Auburn and Skinny Atlas, obviously.
Yeah. Well, so we will see you in the office then. That'll be a pleasant surprise. So, well, there's some cookies for you. So we got those. So, all right, folks, we appreciate you joining us. Hope you survived Election Day, although it's not really over with yet, is it? And enjoy the games this weekend, and we'll see you next week.